Sean here from Worldwide Red Show. You know what to do. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Just pound it. Hit that like button. Hit the share button. Help me grow this newer platform. We are new since 2020, straight out of the COVID pandemic. A new channel here talking about the greatest football club in the world. Come get in the comments, have your say. Let's get connected. Also, guys, I'm excited to announce there's some new things coming on the channel here coming into 2021, some new live streams and stuff like that. I'm really excited to be able to bring this platform to a little greater level. I'm excited about it. Listen, I want to shoot a quick video today. Don't want to be too long. I'm actually here in my office. I'm not in my typical scenery. And I want to bring a video to you, and I don't want to be overreactionary. I don't want to be screaming and carrying on. So I've actually waited. I've been sitting on this video for about 2 days because I wanted to think about everything before I really spoke on it. Because when you love a team like we do and things happen, like the things that's been happening around our club, it's easy to be reactionary and to really just jump off and go crazy. So I needed a moment to simmer down, think about my thoughts, and really just also look at some of what you guys are saying, and some of you are going crazy. So I figured I'd just let you go crazy, let me think about it for a little while. So I want to do a video real quick about some of the biggest issues surrounding Manchester United Football Club. Now, we know that the greatest issue at our club is how we're structured. We know that our chairman is really clueless when it comes down to football decisions, and we're not a solid football organization right now. And because of those things, those two things have had a direct impact on these other two things I'm going to talk about, which these other two things become our scapegoat. So I'm going to talk to you for a little bit today about Paul Pogba and about our manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm going to talk to you about both of them and why, in my opinion, again, I'm not going to be screaming and carrying on why I think both of them need to exit the club. So here's the thing, guys. I want you to understand that I'm not coming at this from a place of venom or even agenda. Because I got to be honest with you, I have had agenda when it comes to these things because Paul Pogba has been my favorite player at different times of his career. And I am very pro, I've been pro Poch before we even had Ole. So I've seen certain things in Poch that made me feel like he was the next guy. So I'll be honest and tell you that has affected me at times in my judgment. So I just sit back and say, let's take all agenda aside. What do you see? What do you think? So here's the thing. The other day when the comments came out from Mino Raiola, this is the first time that we've seen things like this happen with Paul Pogba. The comments being that Paul Pogba was finished at United and he was moving on. Now here's the thing. I think the best thing for Paul Pogba and for United is for him to be sold, for him to go. The circus that surrounds him is ridiculous. And the crazy thing is the amount of people that say things like, get Pogba out of the club so we can get Grealish in. When Pogba's off the field activities are nothing like Jack Grealish's off the field activities. And why is Jack Grealish not scrutinized the way that Pogba is? Some of it's because he's not at Manchester United. Other reasons, well, we're not going to get into them, but you probably know what they are. Because they both have crazy hair. Why don't we talk about Grealish's hair? I don't know. I'm not going there, but you guys probably not to put two and two together and know where I'm going with that. Paul Pogba, I believe that if we really step back from our anger about what Mino is doing, because by the way, Mino's doing what an agent does. He's trying to get his client to move. He wants Paul Pogba to move because we know at the end of the day, Mino's about money. If Mino wasn't just about money, he wouldn't release a statement that he did when he did. If he really cared about his client, if he really cared, Paul, if you ever watched this, which I know you won't, but if you did, if your agent cared about you, he wouldn't make the comments that he does when he makes them. Because what happens is he's not the one that really gets all of the backlash that Paul gets from a fan base that wants to hate the guy. It's amazing how this guy can come off of the pitch at the end of the season, take his shirt off to give it to a kid, and have these old geezers standing there like yelling at him and cussing him, get out of my club, you fraud, and whatever. It's just disgusting how some of our fan base acts when it comes to this guy. When, let's be real honest, the same people will complain that Ed don't have a clue, our board has no ambition, we have no ambition to win, no this or no that, but yet we've had a world-class player that I would argue with you, listen, we have not used effectively or appropriately the whole time he's been at the club. The whole time. Ever since he's been there, he was an Ed Woodward signing. You could tell Jose didn't want Paul Pogba, right? He's played DM the whole time he's been there. The only time he has not been particularly a DM in a double pivot six is when Ole first came in and he was letting everyone just play. And Ole was running a 4-3-3. And that's when we saw the best Paul Pogba. The shackles have been on since he's been there. Paul Pogba has not played with world-class type players, world-class caliber players, especially in the midfield, until Bruno Fernandes came in. Think about that. Paul Pogba was playing in a double pivot, playing in a deeper role with, watch this, Andreas Pereira ahead of him, Jesse Lingard ahead of him. Maybe the best player he played with was Ander Herrera, who quite frankly, in a lot of ways, is a flopping kicking merchant. He's a passion merchant. He's Scott McTominay with a little more tech and a lot more dive and a lot more bite. Ander Herrera is not world class. Paul Pogba's playing beside Marouane Fellaini, you know. The same guy that we were like is complete trash, get him out of our club. Matic, old Matic, the guy who can't half run sometimes, side-to-side passing Matic, Pogba and Fellaini. Stop and think about that. Stop and think about the crap that Pogba's played with for almost 3 seasons. Now, here's the reason that I believe the club let him down. I believe Ed sold him a dream of rebuild, a dream of winning titles, a dream of this and that. So he brings in a world-class manager, but the manager don't really fancy Pogba. They start to, the clash. Even in the first season, there were times they weren't getting along. Then they won the Europa League, and they all hugged each other, and it was all good. And then you see Paul in the car singing, do, Champions League, because he knew what all of us knew, that Ed promised to deliver big signings after they got the Champions League, and the signing that we were getting was Antoine Griezmann. Paul Pogba, one of his best friends. Griezmann doesn't come. That's the first letdown. Think about all the players that I'm sure Pogba's heard that we're getting that never came. The Griezmanns, the Bales, and then this summer, the Jadon Sanchos. We consistently don't deliver ambition. Why would a world-class player who could be winning trophies in other clubs stay in a place where not only he has to play around crap almost the entire time, but when he isn't carrying an entire team by himself, half of the fan base is spitting vile stuff at him because we think that he looks like he's lazy. It's the same stuff they say about Berbatov. Some people, just the way they run and whatever. Paul Pogba, there are times, listen, I'll be the first one to say, there are times where I've even said on his day he's unplayable because on his day he's the best midfielder in the world, but we don't see it on his day enough. I acknowledge that. I feel like Paul, listen, while the club is to blame, Paul is not without blame here. But here's the thing, I put myself in his shoes because 2 days ago, I was ready to jump on here and rip him, get him out of my club, I'm sick of him, I'm sick of his agent, and all that stuff. And guess what? I still think he should go. He needs to go. But as I sat back and put myself in his shoes, because I've not always been in the best working environments, I'm asking myself, if I had to come to work every day and work around a bunch of people, half of who hate me, and talk a bunch of crap about me, this or that, sometimes just about my hair, or I look like I don't care, or they don't like the fact that I dance, or I don't run around and kiss the badge enough, and I'm carrying crap. Frickin' Scott McPassion. The other day, he carried McPassion for a whole game against West Ham, and he was arguably the best player on the pitch, Paul Pogba was. This is crazy. The players he plays around. And then Bruno comes in. Bruno's made a huge difference, and for whatever reason, our fan base is so stinking toxic that all of a sudden it's, Bruno's done more for our team in 6 months than bloody Paul Pogba has in 4 years and all this kind of stuff. All right. So we set up this division where now instead of having 2 great players, for whatever reason, half of you that watch this can only have one. Okay. Look at City. City has De Bruyne, the cross merchant, and they had David Silva playing together. Do you think either of those guys were defensive at all? No. Do you see KDB getting stuck in, running around like... No. That's Fernandinho's job. That's Rodri's job. That's the fact is we don't have a solid DM so that our 2 other midfielders can express themselves and play correctly. Bruno and Paul could play together if we had the... But again, our board has no ambition. They've never surrounded this guy with the type of team where he could be effective. And here's what's crazy. Bruno comes into a team with a more mature Rashford now, last year, finally getting on form Martial. And Bruno comes into a team with Pogba. So now you have some good guys playing together. Again, Pogba was hurt a lot of last year. But anyway, Bruno, he has made a big difference, and Bruno is a leader. Maybe Paul Pogba isn't the leader character on the pitch that we want him to be. Maybe, I don't know. But I know Bruno is. But I can like both of them. I'll admit it. Oh my goodness, I like Bruno and Paul. Oh my gosh, someone stoned me. I don't think that they have to be against each other. But here's the thing. When I think about it, stop the comparison between Paul and Bruno. When Paul's never had the same type of support, not only from the fan base, but he's not even had the type of players that he's been playing with. Here's the crazy thing. So Paul will leave, but guess who Bruno gets to still play with? He still gets to play with Donny van de Beek, if our manager will pick him. The only two world-class midfielders we've had since Paul Pogba both come in recently. But yet we're judging Paul Pogba over the last few years. When he was playing with a manager that didn't want him in Jose, who we all complained about Jose's park the bus, sit back tactics. He wasn't expansive. He wasn't using a guy like Paul Pogba effectively. And we all cried and moaned about it. But now all of a sudden that we got our new guy, Bruno, and he's doing a great job, now we want to chuck Paul like he's just completely crap because his stupid, ridiculous, big mouth agent is running his chops. Now, here's the thing. Here's where, Paul, you're dead wrong. You need to come out and you should have shut him up. Paul needed to shut his agent up. He hasn't done it because he wants to move. But here's the thing. We know he wants to move. So why are we surprised that his agent is doing dumb things to try to force the move? Like, honestly, Paul Pogba should want to move. He's 27, almost 28 years old. Why would he want to stay at a club that we all say don't have ambition? Why? Why should he? He should be forcing a move. I would question whether or not I don't question the fact that he loves the club. I question the fact that we go off on players when we know the biggest issue is the board. And it's annoying me. So at the end of the day, like I said, I was really mad at Paul. Again, I'm disappointed. I'm hurt because I feel like, in my opinion, I'm a little old school. After what came out the other day, if he didn't talk about it publicly and at least make it right, I'd never pick him again. I personally wouldn't. If I was the manager, I wouldn't pick him. So here's the problem I have. Let's get into the manager. Too many people are way too overreactionary and toxic about this manager one way or the other. You hyper Ole in folks. If someone even criticizes him at all, we're plastic. We don't care. We don't back our manager and back the club. It's amazing. Back the club over the player. Back the club. It's about the badge. Well, you don't back the club when it comes to your manager because you're so obsessed with him as a legend that you don't see how inept he has been as a tactician and a manager. And even if it's not his fault, even if Phelan and McKenna and Carrick, if these guys aren't doing their job on a training pitch, he still isn't going to sack them. Do you realize there's a large portion of his staff that he brought back with him to United that was with him at Cardiff when he got him relegated? Come on, man. Let me just say something to you. Ole has been consistently inconsistent. I love the guy as a legend. I've backed the guy as a manager. And until recently, I thought he was a great manager. But after what I even witnessed this week, it finally pushed me over the edge to where I'm always going to back Manchester United. I'm always going to hope our managers win. I want to win every game. And if we win everything and win the league with Ole, I'm going to celebrate. And I'm going to shout for him and I'm going to sing his name. But I'm going to tell you this. There's no coming back for me in thinking that he's the right guy. Because where I put most of my hopes with him was on affecting the board to do what's right. And we saw this past summer, he doesn't have any authority or power to do that. He did not get the players he wanted. It's one reason that he's not played Donny van de Beek when he should, because he's mad he didn't get Jack Grealish, who, by the way, is just, that guy's a madman. But anyway, could you imagine if Pogba or Greenwood or any of those melaninated players acted like Grealish off the field, how the press would have a field day with that? But that's a topic for another day. At the end of, listen, Ole really disappointed me with this Pogba thing. I'm going to tell you why. Because when it comes to Pogba, after we're going to the biggest game of the year so far. Ollie has consistently shown in the last 18 months that whenever there's a massive game, especially the type of games that require us to win to move on, he bottles it. The only time that he wins massive games is when he knows he's about to get sacked. And it's not generally him that wins them. The players play for the guy. They like him. I don't think they respect him like you guys think that they do. If they did, Bruno wouldn't be yelling at him to make a change like he did about Marcus Rashford when he was like, get him off the field. Like, really? You're yelling at the manager like that? I was like, whoa. So I think it's more Bruno FC than Ollie FC now. But Ollie's allowed that to happen. At the end of the day, I don't think that our league position tells a story. I don't. I think that you guys get so caught up in the fact that you think we're in a title race because of the points. You really think we're in a title race? Look at our home form and how we've been playing. We're in a title race just because of the points. Stop and think about, Ollie got us third. Did he? Did he? If I ask anybody last year, before we as a fan base forced a transfer of Bruno Fernandes, Ollie did not make that signing. We made that signing. I'm going to tell you why we made that signing. The only reason that signing happened was because we had a lot of injuries. We wanted Bruno. We thought the club was going to get Bruno in the summer. They didn't get him. And what did the club leak out? What did they leak out? Remember? See, we forget. They said, we don't want this guy because he gives the ball away too much. Well, we've seen he gives the ball away a lot, but we see he's brilliant anyway. But why did they get him? Because you guys, especially the ones you top reds who were at the games all the time, you were singing about Ed and building bonfires and throwing Molotov P-bombs at his house. The fact is, you guys needed to be pacified. So what did they do? They went out and bought Bruno. They had no intention of buying him. Bruno Fernandes coming as a breath of fresh air, played amazingly well, and almost single-handedly, in a lot of ways, lifted the ship and helped drag us to a third place finish in a COVID time when the rest of the league was straight up trash. Stop and think about last season. Think about all the times that Chelsea could have pulled away from us and they just didn't. They were trash. The other teams up top were the only two teams that weren't trash were City and Liverpool. Everyone else was just horrible. And it was a COVID year. It was a lockdown year. It was an anomaly. It was weird. And all of a sudden, we go on a run. Other teams are bad. We're winning some games. Listen, we had games we had no business even getting points in. You forget that Southampton game last year, or did you? Did you forget the fact that we got embarrassed by teams like Southampton, West Ham? Do you forget even this year, that Tottenham game? And I know it was early in the season. I get all that. But guess what? It was early in the season for everybody. Yeah, some people had a little bit more preseason. But the fact is, it's embarrassing. And my issue is that this consistent inconsistency is a pattern that we've seen for a while. So we know that we'll get good form. We'll go on a run of games. And then because of terrible managing decisions, terrible tactical decisions, and different things, we'll lose a few games, and some of them will be howlers and horrible games. I can't deal with that no more. When it comes down to my loyalty to the club, it's whatever's best. So I ask myself this question: are there better managers available for our club right now, in my opinion? And my opinion is yes. So why would I not want them? I do. So let me say this to you. When it comes to Ollie, let's just think about, I can give you numerous game after game after game of some foolishness and crazy stuff. First off, let's not get it twisted. The last two league games, we should have lost. We should have lost. Southampton should have been up 3 or 4 or 5 on us in the first half. We make a change, which I give Ollie credit for that because he did change someone at halftime, brings Bruno on, the game changes, right? Bruno and Cavani. When he brings Cavani on, the game changes. The following week, oh my goodness, we're a mess again. And we should really be down 2 or 3 again. And luckily, we're not. Second half, we pull through on some phenomenal goals. But let's make no mistake about it. That's 6 points that we won coming from behind that, quite frankly, that flattered us. It really flattered us. We may not have won those games. Let's not act like we've been amazing, right? We don't even know who we are. Like when you think of City or you think of Liverpool, you know who they are. You know what they do. What do we do? Outside of if we have a chance to play on the counter against big teams, we can do that. What is our style? I don't know. I mean, are we high press? Are we? Okay, let me put it this way. Against Leipzig the other night, I am not like other people. I'm not shouting against us playing a 3 at the back, 3-5-2, or 5 at the back. I'm not upset about that because the fact is, any formation can be offensive or defensive based upon how it's coached. But I'm going to say this. We played 5 at the back, and we played 2 holding midfielders that we didn't need to. We for real, against the high press, high energy, midfield and up top pressing machine like Leipzig, played Matic and McTominay together. When our most press resistant player isn't even Pogba. People talk about Pogba. Pogba can't play. Keep his butt on the bench. I get it. Our most press resistant player, Donny van de Beek, is sitting on the bench when he's better in every facet than Scott McTominay. He's better defensively. He's better across the ground. He's better passing. He's more press resistant. Matter of fact, I'd be willing to bet he puts in more tackles. I'm telling you, I don't know what this obsession is with McPassion. It kills me. I'm convinced McPassion has nudes on somebody. That's just me. But how do you have Donnie sitting there? Okay, how do you have the 2 midfielders that Real Madrid have wanted the most in the last 3 windows, the last 3 years? The 2 players we've heard about Madrid wanting the most are Paul Pogba and Donny van de Beek when it comes to midfielders. And they're sitting on our bench behind McPassion? Are you freaking kidding me? I don't know what else you need to hear. So it's killing me. And the fact is, like I said, okay, let's stay to the game. What's up with those substitutions? Are you for real? We need, all right, so why is Luke Shaw play the whole game? So we need goals. We need a goal. So you bring off Alex Telles and you bring on, who all came on? So Brandon Williams comes in. Telles goes out. Luke Shaw stays on, who was worthless, by the way. Not even going to blame him for it. The guy hadn't played in how long? And he's playing the whole match. Telles comes off. The one guy, if we know anything about Telles, maybe he's not the best defensively, but he can put in a cross. I mean, he's known to be more of an offensive player. Telles comes off. And then I see Timothy Fosu-Mensah in the game. Like, I'm confused. And here's the one that kills me. He brings on Paul Pogba. And after Pogba comes on, we almost come back and crap house our way through to the next round. Again, through individual brilliance. If we got through to the next round, some of you be singing all these praises about how he did it and got us through, when the fact is it would have been the brilliance. Look, first off, let me be honest with you. Our 2 goals against Leipzig, in my opinion, shouldn't have stood. You're telling me that was a PK on Mason. That was shoulder to shoulder by Konate. Maybe it's a PK in Europe because the game is softer, but there's no way in the English game that's a penalty. How? It was shoulder to shoulder. That was a gimme call, right? Okay, so we get a penalty. Then Paul Pogba attacks the ball like a maniac, gets a goal, but in my opinion, that could have been ruled off for a handball. He heads it off Harry Maguire's arm, which then goes in to, I believe, Konate or someone kind of kicked it in. It could have been an own goal. Then at the end of the game, their keeper makes a phenomenal stop when Paul Pogba whips in across the ground. That, I mean, they almost had an own goal, and we would have got through. Not just that, Bruno Fernandes hits the post on a brilliant free kick that 3 inches difference, and it's in. And again, here we're talking about these fine margins. The game was tactically set up pathetically. Terrible. And we still almost got through. This is the story of our life. This is why we're so inconsistent. We have some great players, and they do some great things in moments. I'm going to tell you this for free. Think about, I don't know if you guys ever watch other teams, especially you that are in England. I don't know what the TV schedule is like. But here in the U.S., I absorb every game I can when it's on. And typically, City and United are on a lot over here. So I get to see a lot of City's games. And I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, Marcus Rashford is a much better player than Raheem Sterling. But yet Raheem Sterling constantly gets in great positions and has shots on goal. And the reason is because they're tactically coached to create certain patterns, certain movements that make things happen. We don't do that. Marcus gets the ball, it's head down FC, let's go, let's attack people. And why is it that every single person that's not a United fan or an Ole supporter, right? Every pundit, just about, will speak about how it's obvious to everyone that our manager, though he's done some good things, because I would argue he's done some good things. I think that clearing out some of the players that he's had cleared out, I think bringing back a culture of smile to the fans and to our team, I think those things have been great. See, I think Ole's done some good things, but I think that he's reached his ceiling and he needs to go. That's just my opinion. But how is it that everyone sees it, but our own fan base? And you trust this board to be making the right decision? I mean, come on, man. Come on. I just saw some craziness. They're talking about swapping Dybala for Pogba. What the heck? Dybala made it very plain when we were after him. He didn't want to come here. He's one of Pogba's best friends. They were texting about whether he would come, and he's like, he ain't coming. But yet we're going to trade him for Pogba. So he didn't want to be here with Pogba. Now he's going to want to be in Manchester without Pogba. In a position, his best position is one we already have filled. What in the world? I can't. And here's the other thing. Would you say that the players he wanted, he got in the summer? No. If you're not going to back him, you need to sack him. That's just my opinion. Again, this is more board than Ole. I believe they've set him up to fail too. Because at the end of the day, the board is the problem. They want us to eventually be able to blame someone else but them. So they're keeping, and the fact is Ole's cheap. And he's in his dream job. He ain't gonna kick up no fuss. He's not mad. He's happy. He's got Rashi and Mark, he's got Anto and Jonesy. He's got everyone he wants to have there. He's just doing his thing. He's living his best life and getting paid for it. But here's the other thing I hear. He's learning. Dude, it's not about learning on the job. It's Manchester freaking United. It's the biggest club in the world. How are you learning on the job? It's killing me, man. It's killing me. The substitution patterns, I just think the guy's way out of his depth as a manager. Like I said, I love the guy. I think that ultimately, I believe he wants to do what's best for our club. I believe that. But he's got to go, in my opinion. Listen, the best thing for me, what I would love to see, is for us to go on an amazing run, somehow win a cup. What would be best? Because I honestly don't think we're going to get top 4 in the long run. Not with how you have City and Liverpool coming back into form. Spurs, they got Jose in his second season. We know how that typically goes. They're going to be up there fighting. Chelsea just bought so many players that the quality alone is getting them through some games, because I don't think that Frank is much better than Ole. No one else there's to really worry about. Leicester will fall apart. They typically do at the end of the season. And Arsenal, well, they're fighting relegation. At the end of the day, I think the top 4 is possible, easy with this squad. We should easily get it, but I'm not so sure that we will. But if I had my dream scenario, if we miss top 4, I would love to see Ole somehow win us the Europa League and then get sacked. That's what I would like to see. I mean, to move, or not just say we're not renewing his contract and him move on with a high, because I really want to win a trophy with the guy. I do. But I've sat back, I've let go of all my anger and my rage, and I've evaluated everything over what I've seen for 2 years. There's been good, there's been bad. It's not been all bad. And I don't think he's, like some people say, he has no tactics, tactically clueless. I don't believe that. However, I just don't believe that he is a world-class manager. And so for me, our team deserves to have a world-class manager. We need somebody who's going to win us the league and win us the Champions League. That's the next step, winning trophies again. All he is, he's righted the ship, he's patched holes, he's chucked some people over the edge that needed to go, and now it's time to win. So if he's not the guy to do it, then we have to bring in the next guy. We have to say, thank you what you've done. You were interim, somehow you got the job because people were singing you were at the wheel, and they should have waited to the end of the season. But we've seen these great runs of forms, bad runs of form, great runs of forms, bad runs of forms. And I got people saying, well, if you count what we did in the calendar year, we would be second to Liverpool. Again, that's still not winning the league. That's still, like I said, it's still not winning the league. But we're not counting a calendar year. We're counting a season. That argument is stupid. The fact is, yeah, we win a lot. We win a lot of games, but ask yourself this question: how many of those games did we win that we won literally because the manager was doing his thing? So if you can honestly say to yourself, if we had, let's say, I don't want Allegri, but I hear his name. So let's say this: if you can say, if we had Allegri, we would be better. If you can say that, then you can't argue with people that feel like they should have a different manager. Because at the end of the day, we can't change the board. We know they're terrible. We know the owners are terrible, and we know they're a mess. We can't change them. So I've also made my decision about what I think our club needs as far as a manager based upon a board I know we can't change. So what do we need? We need a certain type of manager. And we need one that can eventually get us a legitimate director of football. And so until we get a director of football, every manager is going to struggle on this board. I'm not blaming Ole for that. But we've got a guy who was managing in the Premier League and he relegated aside. And he's been managing in a backwoods league and you say, well, he's got 2 trophies. Well, so what? The league he's got 2 trophies in is not even MLS standard. I live in the States. That league is not MLS standard. It's not. So just because we have a guy here in the MLS who's won the league a bunch of times, that qualifies him to be Manchester United manager. Man, get out of here with that. That argument is nonsense. But anyway, that's just where I stand on those 2 guys. I feel like Paul needs to go, and I feel like Ole needs to go. And hopefully this is my level-headed, not shouting, reasons about why I feel that way. And I could go through more things. I could go through more stuff, but I wanted to give a real level-headed approach to a topic that's really, I've been fuming for like a full day. And if I'd have done a video right away, I'd have been saying all kinds of craziness. And I had to go back and say, did I really say that? So I had to stop and sit back, gather my thoughts, think about some things. Yes, I want Pogba to go. Yes, Pogba's not innocent. There's times he's opened his mouth he shouldn't. There's times he should have opened his mouth and he didn't. He's also gotten injured every single season. It's not like it's been all roses with Pogba, but we need to stop acting like he's just been complete trash, no good, and stop acting like he has not played with the crap he's had to play with toxic situations he's been playing with for almost 3 seasons. Now that it's time for him to move on, now he's got a good player to play with. And even when he gets that, now we want to try to compare the 2 as which one's better. It's like, man, it's like our fan base can't stand to have multiple world-class players in the side. It kills me. So Paul has failed us in some ways, but the team and the board, especially the board, has failed him tremendously as well. And I know I'm guessing it's affected how he's acted, and it's definitely affected. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how we slate Mino, because how he does things sometimes disgusting. But I'll be honest with you, that guy spit some facts. The way he said stuff about our team, our project, and our board, guess what? We all say the same stuff, but then we slate him for saying it because he represents Paul Pogba. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm not Paul's biggest fan anymore. He's hurt my feelings. He can go. He should go. But I'm not going to sit here and act like we're just better off because we don't have him anymore. When now we have another world-class player to play with. Could you imagine if the board really backed Ole, and this summer we got Jadon Sancho, we'd have got Thomas Partey and Upamecano? Do you think we'd be in the place we are now? I can promise you we wouldn't. Anyway, and to the manager, like I said, I've always supported him as a manager, but he let me down with this Paul Pogba saga of late. Because for me, Pogba shouldn't have been in the team against Leipzig. And if he was in the team because you had intention of playing him, he should have played from the start. If he wasn't, then we should have at least had Donnie Van de Beek in the start. You can't play a game like that. It's just amazing to me how we can. I mean, I don't even. All I have, I finished when I was getting my D license. I only have 2 licenses of coaching, and that's in U.S. soccer. I don't know UEFA license. I know UEFA A license and UEFA Pro, and I know enough to know which guys on our team are press resistant, which aren't, and how Leipzig's going to play, because they never really change how they play. They change formation every once in a while a little bit, but they don't change their philosophy. It's press, it's high energy, it's come at you, and we're going to try to score 5 even if we give up 4. And we're playing who we played. It was the thing about Ole let me down the most, besides the fact that he should have either benched Pogba or handled this different, is the fact that he got in front of a set of cameras and said, we're going there to win. It's not in Manchester United's DNA or in our plans to go somewhere and not win and to attack and be on the front foot. But he went and did everything opposite of what he said. So listen, I'm done. And I'm done with this manager, and I'm done with my favorite player. He can go. He should. I think he's taking a step down if he goes to some clubs right now. What's so great about Juve right now? You're going to win the same Scudetto you always win. Big deal. I know you want Madrid, but they're a mess right now too. They're about to sack your favorite manager, Paul. It's just a mess, guys. It's a mess. It's a mess with Paul. It's a mess with Ole. And I know it's both things have divided the fan base. So hopefully, you know, my long video, which I meant to be short because I just got to run in my mouth. If you're still with me, hopefully my videos made some sense. You can agree or disagree. Matter of fact, if you disagree, that's cool too. Get in the comments, let me know, because for me, disagreement is even better because it makes it interesting. But let me know what you think about it. Like, share, subscribe, get involved. This has been Sean from Worldwide Red Show. Again, Ole out, Pogba out. Let's move on from it. Let's get out of all this toxicity. And no matter what, though, what's out of the fence rule, and Ole out, Ole in, Pogba out, Pogba in, this should supersede your agenda. And I'm afraid for too many people it doesn't. They're more loyal to Ole, a player, than what's obviously not a great manager. And there are more people that are Pogba FC than United FC. And it bugs me. So that's where I stand, guys. Hopefully it helped you. Gave you a little info. Gave you a little knowledge on where I sit. Not that it matters at all. Just maybe a different perspective. Next time I'll shoot the video when I'm really angry and carrying on. That way I say some nonsense. Till next time, catch you later.